Answer.
Dan and Amy coming to you live from Joe Cotton Ford and Carroll Stream. And I think now we've resolved our challenges, and we have
I'm praying.
former Maricopa County Sheriff Joe Arpaio on the line. Sheriff Arpaio, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
All right, Sheriff, great to have you. Thank you for making the time. So first, I just wanted to get your reaction to President Trump's decision to issue a presidential pardon on your behalf.
Well, I was very humble at what he did. I never asked for the pardon, but I'm sure he knew that I was not guilty. This is a contempt of court. It started 60 days after Obama and Eric Holder took office, and here we are years and years later, and they get me on a contempt of court, a federal judge. So I have to thank him. I've been with him from day one when he first came here in Phoenix in July of 2015. I was up on a stage. I introduced him. I predicted that he would be our next president, and thank God that he is our president. So I'll be with him all the way, pardon or no pardon, until he leaves office.
So when you received that court order to stop allegedly targeting Latinos during traffic stops, was it clear-cut the information with what you were supposed to and what your department was supposed to follow?
No. One judge in a civil case, I'm not going to go into his tremendous bias. That'll be for another day. Pushed the alleged contempt of court to another judge that happens to be in the same building, of course. And that judge, after a 5-day trial, said I was guilty of contempt of court. There was no evidence in that trial, believe me, that my guys or I did anything that intentionally violated any order. The Department of Justice under Obama started this investigation one day before early voting started, and then 2 weeks later charged me, and that was 2 weeks before you go to the polls, charged me with the wrong charge, would not give me a jury trial. I can go on and on. So, well, that's the way it is, but we'll see what happens. I'm not done yet on this issue.
What do you mean you're not done yet?
Well, we'll see what my
civil action,
my legal problems. They're not problems. They're gone away because of thanks to the president. But I have to clear my name too. Everybody, the media, is saying I'm guilty of racial profiling. There was nothing even in the court. No judge said that I was guilty of racial profiling. And so that's sad, too. And they call me a racist. Some politicians, the media, has nothing to do with that.
So you feel like former Reagan Labor Secretary Ray Donovan, after he was acquitted of federal charges, where do I go to get my reputation back?
Well, I've been around a long time, been sheriff for 24 years, started my federal drug enforcement career in Chicago, 1957, when I was sworn in as a federal narcotics agent. 24 years as sheriff, joined the Army when the Korean War broke out, police officer in Washington, D.C., Las Vegas. I can go on and on. And,
you've had an accomplished career.
I still
and
have
you're
my
85
supporters,
years old.
believe me.
Let me go to the mixed reaction. You kind of alluded to it, talking about certain politicians. Some have rallied to the president's decision. Arizona Congressman Trent Frank saying the president did the right thing. You've lived an honorable life serving our country. You deserve an honorable retirement. But others, your United States Senator John McCain, as well as Jeff Flake, disagreed with the president's decision, as did House Speaker Paul Ryan. What do you say to those who disagreed with the president's decision, like Senator McCain?
Well, I'm surprised that McCain. I stayed out of his race the past year, the last time he ran. What I say to these people is, why don't they drop a dime and give me a call? Why don't they let me say what I'm saying to you? But I'll tell you what my gut feeling is. They want to get the president. Anything they can do to embarrass the president, and those are the people you just named. They want to embarrass the president, and they're using this as another reason to go after our president, and that's sad. He didn't do anything wrong. He's not a racist. Why do they keep calling him a racist? So it's sad. And when they say the Republicans are even opposed to this situation, what Republicans? So you got 3 or 4 or 5, the same ones that go after him for everything.
Mm-hmm.
So, we all should stick together. The Democrats, of course, naturally are making hay out of this. But why doesn't everybody stick together and help the president and get things done?
Did anybody from Holder's Attorney General's office take you to task for separating illegal inmates from those who are here legally?
No, I don't separate. You mean separate in the jail system?
Yeah, in the jails.
No, yeah, I separated the illegals, the ones in the tents, because it made it easy for the consul general to come in and talk to them. I got 7 jails. I put them all in one jail to make it easy for the Mexican government to talk to them. They should give me accommodation for that. What's the difference where I put them? So I did separate them. Not all of them. Most of those that were going to be deported, and it'd be easy to deport them. So why would I don't even know. I'm taking heat on that.
You've heard, I'm sure, many of the critics throughout the course of your career, particularly your role as Maricopa County Sheriff, and the decisions that you made with respect to detaining people here illegally, as Amy was referencing, as you guys were just talking about. Michael Gerson, who's a Washington Post columnist, kind of a George H.W. Bush Republican, moderate Republican, suggested that that not only was your conduct as Maricopa County Sheriff the politics of dehumanization, but that what President Trump was really doing was pardoning himself because he practices those same politics. What do you have to say to critics in the D.C. press corps like Gerson?
First of all, I've been doing this before I ever met the president, or before the president was in office. I was doing this for years and years, where I had the authority to do it. The Obama administration swore in 150 of my officers, gave them authority to enforce the illegal immigration laws. And that's when all this started. And we did a good job. I'm very proud of it. When I do something, I don't just do it halfway. And we did arrest many, many hundreds of those in our country illegal. And most of them, of course, had state charges, too. We got them on other violations. So we had the authority under that 287G program that they call. And that's what allegedly got me in trouble. They didn't like it. They took my authority away. But I had state authority because they passed 2 state laws. So I'm enforcing the state laws and the federal laws. But
and do you consider what you were doing essentially an act of civil disobedience? I mean, some are suggesting that what the president did was reassert that the people, through their elected officials, are supreme to unelected federal judges. And effectively what you were doing was an act of civil disobedience, something that the left would normally call speaking truth to power, or, as I said, acting in a civilly disobedient way, in this context in enforcement of the law, but in contravention to a federal judicial order. How do you see yourself with that the conflict between state and federal that you're describing?
Well, that's a good question. I'm not a police chief. I'm an elected sheriff, and I have the authority to enforce the laws. The sheriff is the chief law enforcement officer for the county, and there is a separation there somewhat. I'm not going to get into legal where the judges overrule an elected sheriff, but that's a good point as to what their jurisdiction is. So, no, I'm the sheriff. Trying to do my job, protect the people of this county. Been doing it for 24 years. Of course, I was defeated after going for my seventh four-year term, but that was because of George Soros, a big billionaire, pumped in $4 million against me. And that's because the Department of Justice illegally charged me right before the day the voting started. So I had a lot of things against me. When you keep telling the people I'm going to prison for 6 months, so it was all staged to get rid of this sheriff.
Well, are you sleeping easier at night knowing that you don't have to go to that sentencing hearing in October?
Yeah, in a way, my wife. I married my wife in Chicago, by the way, 60 years ago. So I have a soft spot. You guys are in Chicago, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, yes.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we didn't move to Arizona like you did.
A lot of Chicago people here, believe me, great people. Sure,
Well,
a lot of them voted for me down here, but it was a great present. It was my wife's birthday
Yes,
days
yesterday.
ago when my lawyer brought the copy of of the pardon, put it on my table, and my wife was very happy, and I still took her out it was a birthday. I still took her out for dinner.
See, true gentleman.
But I eat my spaghetti because
did
they
you go
broke
Dutch?
the story, and I had tons of media calling me.
Yeah, no, I know. You mentioned that on Hannity. It was funny. You mentioned you stepped away from your spaghetti to talk to Sean Hannity, which was nice of you and very tolerant of your wife. When you talk about defending yourself and your reputation, obviously, I think you're intimating the possibility of civil legal action. But besides that, are you going to continue to be outspoken on this issue with sanctuary cities and sanctuary states, with right now what's going on at the federal level with President Trump potentially expressing a willingness to shut down the government over funding for a border wall? Are you going to engage on these issues?
To be honest with you, after I lost, I told my wife I'm out of politics. Going to have nothing to do with it. And now I changed my mind a few months ago after this and what they're doing to the president. So I'm going to do everything I can to help the president. Anything he needs, believe me, I will help him. And that's the way it's going to be. So I don't know what my future is. When I left office, I didn't go fishing. I have no hobbies. I still have things in mind that I'm doing. So I'm not going away. They keep throwing my age out. It's always Joe Arpaio, It's always my age. I'll gun anybody, believe me. So that's the way it's going to be. I'm going to be vocal. I'm going to help the Republican Party. I don't like what the Democrats are doing, especially at me. I mean, he's talking about the war on me. They don't like this sheriff. And all these demonstrators, you talk about demonstrations. I've had thousands of people demonstrate against me in the last several years, all over the country. But that's okay. I'm a fighter, and I'm not going to give up. We have to take care of our country, take care of our law enforcement, our cops. And so I'll have a voice.
And we certainly wish you and your wife the best. Is there a defense fund that's set up to help you with all these legal costs?
Yeah, I got a fund that was set up, and I guess I'm going to go down in history as having to spend more money over a little misdemeanor. Think of this. I got the same charge. The penalty is the same if you have a barking dog. So think of that. All this for a misdemeanor, and they're trying to destroy this sheriff. And the problem is, I'm not guilty. So why should I not fight back if I can't? But anyway, I have to thank the president. Now I don't have to go through, sentencing and all that, and give all those demonstrators that were in court every day with balloons of me, call me racist in front of the federal building. I can go on and on. I'm not doing this for me. I'm doing it for my deputy sheriffs. I'm doing it for law enforcement. I'm doing it for the people. So that's the way it is right now, Amy.
He is former Maricopa County Sheriff Joe Arpaio. Sheriff Arpaio, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
He's the best, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.